person brings up, like, I'm just not feeling this. There's another woman, and he proceeded to tell me who it was, and I had already known about this person, and I was assured there wasn't a relationship. And I just, and this was very, very serious. It was a very serious time, and so I ended up, like, walking away, just devastated.
Welcome to Moral Tea.
Yes. Hello, Anna Gray Smith.
Hello, Renee, Leonard, Kennedy.
That was said with such exuberance that I felt really welcome.
How are you doing? How's your life?
Well, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
It's the most personal question I've ever asked you.
Oh, man. I think we should pair it, or we should give the prelude that you asked this question before I hit record. And you said, no, I want to ask this when we record.
And I may be a little lacking in sleep.
Do you want to exploit me?
No.
Blackmail?
No. Okay, it's not really a personal question.
Okay.
I want to know why in movies actors don't shut the doors. It drives me mad. It drives me bad. They're coming in from the outdoors. It literally is freezing outside, or it's cold and it's autumn. They come in and they leave the door open like you would not in real life.
That's the most personal question you've ever asked.
I thought I would be shallow today.
The only movie I've actually ever seen that in is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, that did not make
Mom and
sense
I
there.
Never understand, when he and the little elf boy with the blonde hair, like,
what was his name?
Kirby the elf. We never understand when they decide to say, like, peace out, misfits, and break off on the ice. They leave the door open. There's a blizzard.
And they're walking out, and they're, like, trudging out in the blizzard, and the door is wide open.
The thermostat probably goes from, like, 70
to... candy cane to black coal.
I've never noticed in other movies, though. Like, did something trigger you from
it
a
absolutely,
film recently?
From my light acting experience that I did, it drives me up the wall because it's not complete. It takes me out of the scene.
Okay, we're talking about, like, the front door or just any door in the house?
Any door? No, just the front door.
Oh,
so someone enters, they leave the front door open, and I'm like, or, and I have seen this. I think it was even in Superman. Of course, I guess if Superman were in your room, you would feel pretty safe. You wouldn't have to worry about it. But she doesn't lock the doors, and she's in New York City, and there's all these weird things going on.
Like she doesn't lock her front door?
Well, yeah, she doesn't lock her apartment door.
Oh, that is weird.
But
even if Superman's...
So I'm thinking these little things, like, that drives me up the wall. The open door in filmmaking drives me up the wall. Like, I don't know how many times I'll see it, and whatever they're saying, I'm like, when will they shut the door? So much so that every time someone enters from the outside in a movie, I'm looking to see if they'll shut the door.
It's kind of like when you see a play or something and a piece of someone's apparel falls off and that's all the audience stares at. I remember once the director said, if you see it, please pick it up. Like, make your character
otherwise someone will, the audience will fixate on it. And
on
say,
that, yeah.
Yes, I saw that in Beauty and the Beast. They did an excellent job. Someone just reaches down, it does a grand swoop, picks it up. And
it's like art.
It was beautifully crafted,
Once Mom and I were listening to a sermon and a piece of paper just like flew off a stand, and
I love that when it goes it kind
just
of
randomly
down.
And it was good sermon, and I thought I was the only one distracted by a flipping, like, piece of paper flying off, and we both started laughing because it just, like, floated down. So it's like all you can focus on.
Little
did a
things
door
like
trigger you recently? Or did you just wake up thinking about
No, I did not. I wish I had
woke
woke up just thinking about that. But that's why I need the Mrs. Little Chip
Beauty
coffee cup, the Mrs. Potts cup.
Okay, so you're feeling a vibe today.
I'm feeling I'm feeling very chipped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I asked you how your life was, and when we texted earlier, you said, I need to podcast today.
Yes, I need to podcast.
If this were Facebook circa 2007, where it says, what's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Could you actually put down the whole thing that was on your mind? Like, I feel like I suck, or something like that?
You can, sure.
Oh, wow. No, I meant Facebook allowed you to do that kind of thing? Or I thought they were all just
there used
status.
to be a little prompt, I think, back in the day when it first hit the scene where it said, like, what's on your mind? Or I feel like, and people would put stuff like, wow, the wind. I'm feeling like going grocery shopping.
That's so exciting.
No, if you go back.
I'm
like,
brushing
over a
my
day.
teeth. That's always exciting.
Yeah, clipping my toenails.
Lily, we already heard that's right.
I know.
I will tell you, I don't remember. I wasn't on Facebook until 2018. I just resisted, and then I got into writing, and you want to make friends and find out what's going on there. So I haven't been on it. But the reason we had emergency meeting of morality is now in session.
Ooh.
Now in session.
It's funny actually you mentioned Facebook and also what your initial text was to me. Because I was like, do you want to talk about dating apps part 2? And he said, actually, could we talk about this? And I replied, yes, because the same thoughts were on my brain, but also I was literally sitting in my bedroom floor last night at like 9 p.m. writing a Substack post called Facebook Was My Savior. And how it makes you feel so perfect. And like, but I recently deleted it because I hate seeing people's lives. And I found myself comparing myself to other people's lives. I mean, even if that, just not wanting to see all the glimpses and successes of other people, whereas I would otherwise not. I don't know. So it sort of blends in. So what's on your mind?
Well, I do want to say I really enjoyed our last podcast on the, I was going to say the sex app, on the dating app. I do also, I have to say apologies. I'm not going to do the 3-day Hinge trial.
Ooh, so you had some moral convictions.
I just went, this is not for me. I'm not, like, if it's not going to happen the way that God intends it, not that it couldn't happen on Hinge. I'm just saying, I'm not cut out for it. Like, I don't need any more rectangle usage.
You don't want any guys with pictures of women's like faces cropped out?
No, not like the ones you sent me. I'm like, no, the ones that had come off your Hinge. I'm like, no, I don't want any of those. So I'm like, cold turkey on that. But so I'm real happy. My book launched. I mean, in the sense of it's coming. I did get the ebook. But how hard I've worked on this, and there's like 6 words I wish I could have changed in here, and somehow they missed all the gazillion edits. And these were, identifying words for things. And Anna Gray Smith, you would have thought that even after talking to your mom's like, Renee, you would have thought that, something had happened bad, because I went from, I'm nervous to this, this is horrible. This is horrible.
Oh, was this the 8-minute memo you spoke of?
Yeah, this was the 8-minute memo I sent to your mom. And so I went to sleep on that. I prayed to the Lord, and we had a long talk about some things. And yesterday evening, I do want to tell you about my very fun yesterday evening. We had the 9th and 10th grade Sunday school kids from my church over, and we had a pizza and a bonfire, and we threw axes, and we did
the front yard looked like, I walked up this morning, I was like,
Renee
there was a party here.
Spike ball. They went fishing in the pond, and we had all these fun things. It was just really, really fun. But we had stood around the fire pit, and there was a lot of smoke there, because fire pits. And then Lily walks out, we're burning pizza boxes.
Anger management, dominoes.
Well, no, I hadn't even thought. I was really present with them, and I was trying not to, ruin my story there, my time with them. And Lily, she was so funny. She comes out, Mom, there's a fire warning. There's a fire watch warning. in our area, and I'm like, don't throw in the
Which
pizza
of the
box.
100 acres?
Yeah, well, no, I mean the whole thing. And so I guess everybody was burning their leaves or something. So anyways, so all the smoke was coming, and smoke, it plays a part of what was going on. So we talked about it, and Cecily, I said, I'm not going to, everybody, we have to go wash our hair because we have to go to church tomorrow and we'll smell like smoke. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to go, and, all that. So I go to sleep, and I proceed to have this dream about a relationship I was in.
Ooh, oh man, let's go.
And we both had water-themed dreams last night. So I was on getting ready to go on a cruise with this person. Now, you have to understand me. You know how much I hate cruises. So
I didn't know this about you.
No, I had an opportunity to go to Alaska one time, and I had a free trip. And I turned it down and gave it to a relative because I'm a seasick person. And this is Alaska. You think, but
Come on, Sarah Palin.
I know.
She's
I could have
waiting
said
for
hello
you.
to her. I could have stopped and tell her Russia. But no, and I do admire her. But so anyways, I didn't go. But so I was on a cruise. I didn't question that in my dreams. And I was with this person. And we were, walking, and then we got to, we were in, and we were trying to connect and all these things.
Were they cute?
I'm not going to talk about that.
Oh.
And then, this person brings up, like, I'm just not feeling this. There's another woman. And he proceeded to tell me who it was. And I had already known about this person. And I was assured there wasn't a relationship. And I just, and this was very, very serious. It was a very serious time. And so I ended up, like, walking away, just devastated and destroyed. Because, like, why did you do this if there was another person, right?
So they took you on a cruise and then proceed to tell you, there's someone better.
Yeah, there's somebody better.
What a jack.
Which reminds me of the
Otters.
dating apps. But so, and a lot of this paralleled real life, and so I get off the ship and I leave, and I wake up, and my first words to myself were, I'm always the second choice. I'm always the second choice. I'm always second-handed. I'm always, not kind of the loser status or whatever. And all of these things came rushing in.
Okay, I'm only interjecting because I literally said those exact words a few days ago. But continue. So, wow. Okay. Authentic reaction. Continue.
Well, and since
wow.
this relationship has a basis in history, they had pet names for each other, and one was smoke and one was fire. And I was like, dang, the sense is really, you can remember. So I'd always cringed whenever I'd heard that, because this thing happened while they was still in relationship, and it's like I knew about it. But I didn't know it that
as in reality, not just the dream.
Yeah. And so I sat there, and so I'm thinking about the things I didn't get to change, in the book that I would want to change. And there were, like I said, there were like six, 7 references to something I wish I could have changed, and I had them on all my notes. And with all the edits I did, somehow I just missed these. And so I'm thinking last night, went to bed, loser. Okay, no, God, tell me who I am. I'm like begging the Lord. And I went, I'm just not going to think about it anymore. And so then I have that dream, and I wake up and I hear that word, and I'm like, this is, anytime we get creative and I think about you, because you've really, really put yourself out this year in so many ways. I mean, you put yourself out singing, which is very vulnerable.
Oh.
That's one thing I never did.
Classical
I only
Italian.
did one. I mean, seriously, I did one recital voice-wise. Yeah, and that was it. But that, singing, people don't realize how vulnerable you are in singing. And a lot like with writing, you are very vulnerable with writing. I think singing is actually even more.
Oh, I think it's all an extension of your soul, any of the arts. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but you've put yourself out in that way in many ways with photography and changing up the things. But anytime, you launch on a new project where you're putting yourself out there, it could be a speech, because I have friends who have given speeches recently, and it was nerve-wracking because they're putting themselves out there, and we're just like, we love you, just be you. You have the information, just be you, and it turns out well. But it just seems it's one of those things where we know as Christians we're not supposed to lift our souls to people, but there's a measure of lifting our souls to people and already grading us, like we make the grade on ourselves without, hearing the reviews or better yet saying, or better yet saying, God, what do you say about me? So the deal is, like, the word was out on me immediately, and I do feel like it was a spiritual attack, or a flesh attack.
Which word specifically?
Well, that you were second choice. You are second.
So you feel like the dream almost re-verified fears even in your creative pursuits, and it's like this.
So like second choice, second hand. You are not made to do this. You're just not made to do this kind of thing.
Kind of like you don't have a place at the table.
I don't have
That's
a place.
for the VIP quote, cool kids.
That is exactly
That's
it.
so... Okay, I'm actually tripping out that you used the word second pick, because I was having a word-spilling conversation with two people over a recent situation. And I use those exact words. I said, I always feel like the second person. There's always, now it was kind of more relationally speaking, where I'm like, and I use some very colorful words describing to one friend, this situation I was in, or situationship, we could call it more accurately.
That's
good
a good
to get
word.
off my chest.
That's a good word.
Or you're not friends, but you're not in a relationship, but there's no definition. But I use those exact words, and I feel that way within my own work too. And these feelings of like, I'm a fake, I'm not, really cut out for this. People are so much better. And and even the singing world too. Like, I actually was at a rehearsal last week, and I interestingly felt some of those same visceral feelings that I'm assuming you felt in your book, where you're like, oh my gosh, these 6 or 7 words, like I need to change, because I'm sitting in between these two people who are with the professional division, right? So the group I'm singing with, we technically are like volunteer. We don't get paid because we did an audition, and sight read is a part of our audition. But we get to sing 7 numbers with the professional group.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm sitting with the soprano division, right? And I'm in between 2 of them who are with the the professionals, and I felt so viscerally like the rookie. It's not even funny. And there's nothing wrong with the actual rehearsal. It was this one of the most challenging rehearsals I've had. Like, one of the guys who's singing with this choral group texted me, and he said, yeah, I feel like my quote solo piece is, working on this one song that's for everybody is singing together, because it was so difficult. It was just like choking on every word, on every like high note. And
was it you choking, or
it was like a lot of people? It was everybody choking, but a few people. But I'm sitting beside this one girl who I'm just like, she can sight read all of this flawlessly, and she's hitting every note. And I'm sitting there like, I've been out of vocal mileage the last almost decade, except for the last year that I've picked up. And I'm just feeling this weight of everybody knows what they're doing. Even the guy I was texting who was struggling with that particular rehearsal, he's like, he can belt talk belt out like operatic pieces. Like he can sight read, but still
he's
feels like
quite
the rookie.
accomplished.
Yeah. And, you know, he's with the group that I'm in that like we're, you know, technically volunteering, but we get to sing with this group, but having these same mutual like struggles with this particular piece. But all of that to say, like, yeah, whether it's like something musically related or I don't know, anytime you're expressing something like your voice or your writing or like something that you hold, something that's of great value to you, I think when you're exposing it like to the public eye, you know,
I would think it would apply even to like you're opening up a business, you're putting a new menu up, or you're opening a restaurant, you know, anything that caters to people. You know, if you were just doing this thing unto the Lord by yourself on an island, we wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah, but it's always like, what's the review? It's almost like, okay, I need the stamp of approval. But then you get it and you're like,
I don't believe
that's
it.
still not it. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's that. Then I reject it.
Yeah.
I want the words of approval.
Right.
Like, it's interesting your dream of, oh my gosh, I'm the second pick. Like, you know, relational standpoint. But I'm like, really? I don't think it's so much about like the exact context of the situation, like writing, relationships, but it's like the underlying feelings of self-worth. Because a friend pointed out, she said, do you think you have low self-esteem? And at first I was like, no, because I feel content in my pursuits. I can own my own. But as I really peeled back some layers, I was like, there is that voice. It's like, well, is that true? And constantly needing more proof, more affirmation. And not just like, oh, you're pretty. Oh, you know, the external like mumbo jumbo, but things that really get to your character. But then it's like, you can never, ever get that from people, like enough of it, I should say. It's almost like an addiction, but it's, and interestingly,
it is an affirmation. So we all do, I mean, you think about the love languages. I mean, affirmation is one, affirming that you're moving in the right direction. And people will say things, you know, but at the same time, it's itchy scratchy because you know it's not going to be fulfilled by a person. You just know it. And it is like, it doesn't matter what people say. There's something, I think it kind of falls into the perfectionism thing, that it will not matter because of 6 words that should have been changed.
So do you feel like with your book, for example, and with those words, do you, like, what feelings or like thoughts came to your mind when you saw that those could be changed?
It's going to be confusing. It's going to be noticeable. It's going to be very much like, I never thought about the correlation here, but it's very much going to be like that front door opening on TV. Like, it's just going to be a gaping hole and somebody's going to, why is that door not shut? Why is that door?
So you're like, everyone's going to notice this tiny
like,
thing
and they're going to question it, and they're going to stop, or it's clunky, and it's, you know, all the things. So I think it almost, once you go down that rabbit hole, it starts breeding condemnation. And then, well, why wasn't I on top of this more? Why? Like, I really worked hard, you know, and why? And then I think in a way, to be honest, you know, you pray about something, and you think, okay, and I was asking God, why didn't you remind me? And then I had a chance to double check it, and I didn't double check it. And so there's a lot of condemnation for the way I handled it. There's condemnation for just the fact that I'm like, how did I miss that when it was on everything? And then there's the condemnation of just, and it's almost self-eating itself, because like, I realize no words are going to make it better. It's what it is.
Do you feel like it almost revalidated, like, do you feel like it almost like revalidated maybe innate fears you have towards yourself or just experiences?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, it's crazy how things, like, no matter how small, even like a conversation with someone, I don't know if you do the same thing, but I will reflect and think I sounded so stupid or so confusing or so flighty or dumb or unsure of myself. And I will mentally replay it over and over and over and convince myself that someone else noticed it. And maybe they did, you know, and completely just like shred myself to pieces over something so small that it's like if I were to look at it objectively, I could say that's insane, that's ridiculous. Like, just keep moving, shake it off and move forward, as my run coach would say. Just shake off the bad workout and just keep moving forward. Like, it's gonna be okay. But it somehow almost feels like tally marks rather than just something to like shake off, you know?
It does.
But where does the core wound like come from, you know? Where's it created? Like, people...
Well, I think we live in a fallen world, you know, and we're imperfect people. I think a lot of it, because we live in a fallen world, we still strive for perfection. And there's nothing wrong with excellence. I think there's a big difference between excellence and perfection. You know, I thought about this. What would it have really taken for me to be happy about this book? And mind you, I'm 63. And I'm like...
And you just spent like 7+ years on it.
Yeah, and I would be like probably another 10 years. Now, who knows how long I've got left on this world? You know, I mean, seriously, like I could hold on to something for 10 years and work on it and then maybe feel better about it, you know. And so the whole thing is not logical, but at the same time, I don't know where the insecurity comes from. You know, I don't know why some people are more bold and some people are more insecure. I don't know. Except for I have asked many people, do you feel this way when you start to put out your new product, your new, you know, creation, your new whatever it is? And remarkably, most people, oh yeah, I'm always feel like this. And we're talking about people who have done this 100 times. No, not maybe 100 times, but, you know, 25 times, and they will tell you it still feels new. It still feels new. You know, you're only as good as your last, or you're only as good as your next work, right? And so you know, all I can think of is, yes, our culture, but it's me. It's one of these things, and I do think I was at a conference, and they were talking about neuroplasticity in our brains and the grooves that we, you know, the thought processes, you know, we literally put new pathways down on how we think. So what I went to sleep with last night was knowing I needed to get out of my mind in that way. I needed to redirect these thoughts. But getting out of that rut was virtually impossible. It was like, Lord, help me, you know, give me a sound mind. And I forget what happened, but I did find a measure of peace. Obviously, you know, I prayed. But the idea of the pathways being laid down, we've been laying these suckers down for a while, and you've only lived a quarter of the life that I've lived. But, you know, we have these things, these patterns that need to be broken.
Well, I don't think that culture really helps either, because we basically live in a world and a culture where there are these unattainable standards in our face all the time. And there's a lot of things that I don't think are necessarily helping, like social media, which I feel like in almost every podcast episode I rant on at some point. Even though I partake in the digital shrine, right?
Oxymoron, right?
But it's almost this idea that nothing can be good or satisfying unless it's absolutely flawless and perfect. Like, it has to be stainless steel. It can't be, I know this person used an analogy of like red wine spilled on white carpet. You know, it's like, if we could just be cleanable enough, shiny, pretty shiny enough, and cleanable enough, you know, without everything else kind of seeping through. But it's interesting you mentioned praying for a sound mind too, because quite literally also last week, I was also self-deprecating in my car on the way to this rehearsal. And I literally prayed, I said, God, please give me a sound mind. I literally saw a shooting star right after I prayed that, which was kind of cute and funny. And one, I was like, is this the sign of something? Am I gonna, but I literally was praying the same thing.
But that's sweet, you had your eyes open.
It was, I was like a shooting star. Maybe it was coincidence, maybe. But yeah, I was literally praying the same thing, because like, even though my situation was different, I was seeing something, actually a lot of things through this very catastrophic lens, and just noticing myself starting to mentally crumble in ways that I really didn't want to. Mm-hmm. And I think that happens to everybody in different ways. I think, I would say some people are more resilient, but maybe some people are more so aware, or like, I don't know, maybe if I would even use that word, but I feel like some people are better at just like compartmentalizing, maybe.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like my mind thinks about 20 things at once. Mm-hmm. And I'm, if I'm reflecting on one thing that didn't go right, it suddenly makes me think about my entire
yes, it does.
life,
it's
to where I'm like, oh, well, here's the history, of failures and, I don't know, just every catastrophic event, and then I start worrying about the future, and I don't know. And then there is the innate part of me along with that, with how you mentioned perfectionism and the idea of just staring at like the door that's open, and it's interesting because I think that oftentimes it's like we notice the door in ourselves, and sure, maybe other people notice, but it's like, when you are the only person living underneath your own skin, it's like everything feels so much more visible.
Yes.
I don't know.
It feels exposing.
I feel like I'm speaking really abstractly.
No, but no, it's really good though. It feels very exposing.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a couple key words because we keep saying self, and the problem is we are a self. We are, myself, and we've been taught self can be selfish, is bad. But the thing is, we can't get out of our heads. We can only, ask God to renew our minds, but even then, that's a battle. I think we have to recognize the battle here, that it is a battle, because last night it was a battle, and then to wake up in the middle of the night and hear that, I was like, whoa, I didn't even know how. And it just flung me into, I was like, what? Talk about your dark night of the soul. But I do think something, that meaning the dark night of the soul, you have to almost have the dark night of the soul so that you can have the redemptive moment, and part of me is like, how do I mean, obviously I went to church today, I got rewired. I went, in the end, I spoke to another fellow Sunday school teacher, and how's it going? And I'm like, I wish it did it. And he says, Renee, most of us readers are not going to notice this, or there's a good chance. I think the thing is we pick and choose. Maybe it's in the powerlessness of not being able to fix something.
Yeah.
That was even the thing in the dream, not being able to fix that.
Like fix yourself so that you're good enough for somebody else.
And to rethink that relationship and go, wow, what could I have done differently? And I realized there was nothing, and so I think there is that battle that's going on, and I think is how we approach it. I think it's exhausting.
I think it's exhausting, like just being a human too, because you have your thought process, and I think everyone's different too. I find that people who are really artistically minded, like whether it's in writing, different mediums of art, music, because and not to sound cliche, but it is an extension of your soul. It's like, even if you're writing fiction, like, Tissue just came out, it's fiction, but it's still a lot, or I'm assuming so much of your own life experiences and emotions and things that you're kind of channeling into that you've experienced or you've seen other people experience. And so I think that, artistically minded people tend to struggle with that. And I don't know, like one of the most profound things I heard someone say last year was this painter at this local gallery, and it's not like the elitist type where it's like, oh, here's a toilet with caution tape for $50,000.
Yes.
Like, it's art. But she was wearing yellow Vans and this bright yellow sweater, so down to earth. And we struck up conversation, and I was looking at her paintings, and there was something different about them. Like, they were more, abstract, really whimsical. They make you feel like you're in a dream. She had this almost, she's in her early 40s, but had this, not childish, but childlike, innocent persona to her. But we were looking at the paintings, and I loved hearing her talk. Like, she reminded me a lot of you, and like, she was really poetic in how she spoke, very just like warm and kind. And she said, people come in here, and she kind of smiled. She said, they buy my paintings and they talk about how beautiful they are. And she said, but what they don't know is the amount of pain that was behind those.
Ooh.
Yeah. And there's so much, whether it is divorce or, words spoken over you.
Right. I never thought about that.
Yeah, but that just stuck with me because I thought, oftentimes I think people even love us when we're most broken and we're creating these amazing things, but then we're still looking at it from a lens of like, it could be better. And this artist too, like producing these amazing works and pouring out her soul in what she does, had the same thoughts. Like, I went in feeling like a novice in my work in this gallery thinking, well, I'm a nobody. All I do is photography. I can't pick up a paintbrush and like create these amazing pieces. And it was interesting because like, I was just really honest with her in like my creative process, because she was interested in my like photographic process, and I was interested in what she does regarding, painting and her medium. And it was just so interesting to me that like she's had all of these residencies and this isn't stuff she was just flaunting either. It was just through conversation. I'm like, she's done a lot of really amazing stuff and she doesn't dislike her art, but there's always, with every single painting I've seen her create, and I've gone to her house too, and she'll look at it and I'll be like, wow, this is amazing. And she's just like, it's never enough. There's something that's missing. And I think it's like in the artist's mind, again, I mean it with like all artistic mediums, it's almost like it's an extension of our soul, but then in that same breath, it's like we're reminded of our brokenness too.
Yes.
Because through our brokenness, we create.
Yes.
But our creativity also reinforces our brokenness.
Well, I was just thinking about that, because you think about it, you're basically talking about the memory of creativity, because everything we create at a given time, and that could be, you can create a company, you can create, your photography is amazing. You switch up your cameras, you do this, you put that out there, you can write or you can sing, but everything has a history behind it, because this is what I was going, when I wrote when I got back to writing, my first blog was on when the tree hit the house. So what I'm saying is we have memories, and I forget how loaded the last 8 years have been in my life, and how the different edits and the different things, like even writing After the Flowers Die, what I was going through on that time, it had a memory, because there were other things I was using, not just the death of people, but the living of people and the separation of people, the disjointedness to write that. So that's very insightful.
It's like putting your heart out on the line. It's literally like a relationship, but it's like, here's my soul, I'm going to tear out my heart, throw it out there. And you're like, it could be rejected and people might hate it. Some people might love it. And it's a risk, just like with...
But it also has a memory to it. I never thought about that, because, I know where I was when I was doing this piece of it, and the joy that I had when I was in this class, when just one thing I wrote in this writing class that was great was Donald Moss. And he was like, think of the one character you want to push hardest in your story. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to write this. And he just inspired us to let go of all our preconceived notions of what should happen. And he says, just keep writing And you'll know it when you get there. So I just kept writing about this one character and about this one scene, and just kept writing and writing. And then the character did something I didn't expect.
Your character?
Yes.
Ooh.
And it's in the book. And I was like, that is to him, that would be the most pivotal thing that could have happened to him. But in doing that, I felt this immense, like, I can't believe that just happened. And yes, I'm going to use that. But I felt this immense joy in finding that's what needed to happen. But the opposite can be said too, because you could be going through a really, really horrible time and you have to still do the stuff. You know, you still have to shoot something. You still have to do it. But somehow you're tackling that emotion in that minute through it.
Yeah. And, you know, I think you're totally on point with the memory being attached stuff too. Because it's interesting how when you have a win, you can reflect on it easily and think, okay, I've done this before. So like, again, this idea of like self-efficacy, it's like, I trust that I can do this again. But when you have a timeline, or especially like have memories that are not just unpleasant, but that kind of felt like being crushed by God's heel. And obviously I'm aware of the last 8 years of your life in many different ways. And you're aware of mine. Where you have these memories stitched to it that, I don't know, almost act like charcoal and like bring up all the stuff to the surface. But I'm curious, like, okay, when you woke up thinking about like both, you know, the dream you had where it's like, oh, Ma is the second choice, like this feeling of not enough, not good enough, there could be more. Like, what came up for you with the words from your book? Like, did you find yourself thinking about anything else? Like,
no,
I don't know, just from your past, like, did it feel like it was just about the book itself, or did you find yourself?
No, it wasn't about the book at all.
Yeah.
It just, I think, just the whole idea of feeling like I couldn't change something, and I can't change something in this past relationship. And just the feelings of helplessness, just the feelings of unworthiness, just the feelings of it's always somebody else. You know,
all that's kind of going through your stream of consciousness.
That's going through that, and then at the same time, the feelings of what drew me into this relationship in the first place. Was that those valid feelings? Were they, you know, where did I go wrong in not following this, in seeing it? So again, I think ultimately it's like, just like your painter friend. She wants to fix that painting, and yet she doesn't know what it is that needs to fix, or she doesn't want to tinker with it. Now it's done, you know, and you can't change it, one or the other. And that's what it feels like. So I think it's the same thing. It's this helplessness that you feel. But at the same time, you realize, okay, wait, I'm a grown-up, I'm a mature woman. I'm not, you know, there's a measure of me. I'm a Christian. You know, I'm a person of hope. Why is this eating me alive?
I relate to that, though, because like literally in the last 7 days, I was gutting my soul out in my journal, just like writing. My writing goes from like print to cursive to really bad print / cursive. It's like, which personality came out today? But there was like a situation that just, I told a friend, I said, things are sending me over the edge that usually don't send me over the edge. I just need prayer for a sound mind. Because there was just, I mean, there's been a lot, especially in the last year, that has transpired. But then in the last week, just like there was this one moment that objectively wouldn't be that big of a deal. It would be like, okay, you know, I can shake that off. But it was the official straw that broke the camel's back, where I'm like, I was realizing in my own self, like these same thoughts where I'm like, why am I reacting so immaturely to this? Like, this was me when I was 17. Like, why do I feel like I'm being drawn back to mentally wrestling with old habits I turned to when I was a teenager, you know, or these feelings of just like mentally shredding my esteem to levels that were really, I don't know how to even like phrase it properly, but just,
it's unnecessary.
yeah, that's so unnecessary. It's like you realize it, but you're like, how do I get out? Like,
Yeah.
I feel stuck.
It's like, wait, how did I go from 0 to 100?
yeah, or you can feel like you are on cloud 9
Yeah.
1 second, and just a few words or lack of words or one observance of something, and you're like, jink, nope, that either triggered something within me or
And my life is ruined.
yeah, or re-verified the fear, which re-verified every other fear or like core quote wound. I don't know, like
It like lights up all the
it
all
does.
the things that we have dealt with, you know, in our relationship with the Lord, and it just lights up like they're still here, you know. And I'm like,
Yeah, where you're like, I thought I slayed all those demons years ago.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, in that same breath, I feel like it's natural and normal for that to happen. Like, I don't think that the goal of having this idea of I will never be startled or, you know, shaken up by something ever again, but it's almost like building the emotional and spiritual resilience to it. Like, okay, you know what? I felt all of those things and that reminded me of a lot of really painful parts, but how do I rise up from here? How do I change the ending from here? How can I, like, the only way, not to sound cliche, but it's like the only way to get through hell is to walk straight through it. Easier said than done.
and this is
You know?
not hell. I mean, this is.
But just
this
the
is
past, I think past
first
can bring
world.
up the hell you've gone through.
Yeah, that's true.
You
That's
know?
true. Yeah. I realize I'm still in fix-it mode.
Yeah,
I want to figure out a fix. I want to figure out a fix. And
Like for yourself?
yeah, I want to I need to somehow mentally make peace with this. And so that to me signals I'm still in fix-it mode. But then I went to church, and, you know, there's a part in a Gray, if, you know, I've worked really hard, you know, I've prayed during it, I made notes. Somehow I missed this note on the top of all my drafts. And somehow I thought I had done it and I hadn't done it. And there's a part where you have to just simply kind of walk back and say, okay, God knew I was going to be in this spot in this very minute last night. You know, and in this dream and this smoke, you know, even the smoke that triggers, you know, memories of all sorts of things. So he knows I'm going to be there. What is this all about? And ultimately, I have to land at that I'm going to trust him with this. You know, that somehow, no matter the outcome, you know, I have to quit thinking of the little couple of pixels that are bugging me and think about the overall thing and remember why I wrote this in the first place, why this story came, the joy that came in it, the readers that I hope read it. You know, there's a point where you have to think outside of it and get out of the smallness of it and look at the larger picture and trust God with it. I mean, that's
like
that's
you can control everything, the input, but the outcome is almost the idea of, I want to say, the Stoic philosophy, which the Serenity Prayer is oddly tied to, of just like, some people would say fate, but you know, whatever's meant to be will be. I cannot fix this, and it's like almost finding peace with that versus.
Well, the Serenity Prayer says reasonably happy in this life, and extremely happy or joyfully happy in the next. And so, I mean, there is a part of realizing we're on this side, you know, we're still in the imperfect world that will be made perfect one day when the coming of Christ comes back. But we're doing our best. And at the same time, maybe it's the thought that we're just supposed to be doing it and we're just supposed to be trusting. That's the only thing I can arrive at.
Almost like just trusting the process.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not even so much about the product you finish with and there being this perfect, pristine piece, but like, it's interesting because sometimes when things are a little imperfect, that is what draws people in. Because you think about like human suffering, stories of human suffering, or I don't know, just people being honest and real about their story. That is what connects to people. And it's interesting you mentioned the words that you're like hyper focused on, because there was an essay I was reading last night, and there was another post, a blog I was reading the other day, and there were just like a couple technical errors, which I noticed, but the pieces were absolutely incredible, like absolutely amazing. Like I was sharing one, I'm like, this is great. This should be something that's like publishing people should read. And I don't know, there's something about that, or like once the singer Pink started this song at a concert and she completely forgot the lyrics. Like, and it's live and it's on Spotify, and she just says into the mic, she said, she's like, screw that. She said, that was a beautiful piano intro. She said, I forgot the lyrics, and they restart it. But there's something about that.
Yeah.
Not that it's like, oh, yay, you messed up. But it somehow brings you back to this like humanized level.
Yeah.
And
but she forgot her words.
Yeah. And it's like that.
And you think about what she remembers, which is equally amazing.
You know, and so then I'm saying, oh, wow, I think people are going to focus on the exact 6 or 7 words you speak of, because I have no idea what they are. And I probably won't notice them when I read Tissue either.
I have no idea.
But
yeah, but I do think there is a piece that we have to find within ourselves that, I mean, not within ourselves. I feel like it comes from, I mean, I know that it comes from God. But it is interesting, the wrestling that has to go on for it.
Well, you know, it's interesting too, because I find that, and I've heard this from so many other people too, and I'm curious if it's like true for you or not, but it is for myself. Sometimes I will write something, take a photo of something, and I'll think, you know, I'm just going to put this out there. Or I'll think, that is absolute garbage and shite, or that was not my best work. And suddenly it's like, boom, it gets this response that's like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. I thought that was like some of the, not lamest work, but that was not my best. And then other times I try and make something so pristine and crystal clear, and it's like nothing. And I'm not, and then, yes, it's about people's reaction, but it's interesting what you subjectively experience versus like what other people
that is interesting
connect to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I see what you're saying, because I really do think you have been one of the boldest people I know.
I don't know about that.
No, because you were trying different things, and you would also, I mean, how many people do you know actually set up a recording time in Nashville and go write a song and sing it?
Oh man.
I mean,
that outcome
serious.
was not what I was prepared for.
But what was the outcome? What do you mean?
It was one of those things. I took a risk, and I did not like the writing or the process.
But it turned out
of the singing of the writing.
But it turned out well.
It depends on who you'd ask. The process, yes, but actually the outcome wasn't what I expected whatsoever.
How did you feel about that?
Love you, Songhouse.
How did you feel? You mean the outcome, the production of it?
Yeah,
or
I hated all of it. The
actual doing it?
The actual doing it, I did not like it. Didn't like the end result. Love the people, though, and the experience. Right. So I think it's like...
Yeah, but even then, that was bold. I mean, how many people can say, I signed up for Nashville?
Oh, my gosh.
I wrote a song, and it was 14 hours, right? You had 14 hours to write a song?
Oh, no, it was 4.
4 hours to write a song?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And then to sing it.
Oh, my gosh.
In front of studio people.
Yeah. Okay. And one was on American Idol.
I'm just saying.
It was really scary.
I'm just saying that's
but it was still a good experience.
Gutsy.
Like it was ballsy. And even, you know, but it's like I could look and say the same thing about what you're doing, you know, but it's interesting from a subjective standpoint how you can create something that everyone else is like, that was amazing. And, you know, it's the open door or it's the 6 or 7 words or it's the note that you totally choke on and feel like a dying cat. And
it's you walking into a room and you were saying about the white carpet and the red wine, which that happened to my mother's car.
Really? Was it Merlot?
Naples. It was, yes, I'm sure it was. Or no, it's Cabernet probably in my mom's.
Okay.
But it was in Naples that drove her batty. It drove her absolutely wild that someone would have taken red wine into her white carpet and then spilled it. And literally, I think she passed away. That carpet was never clean enough.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, but it's like entering that room and, you know, you have a fever blister on your lip, you know, and you make sure everybody in the world knows about it. Or you enter a room and, you know, your zipper's down and you think about it the rest of the day, you know, and so it's that kind of thing. We make this gigantic thing out of it when maybe we are in all this avoiding the heart of the matter. Like you said, there are technical flaws and things, but it's the spirit, the heart of the matter that reached you in these essays.
Yeah. Honestly, it's literally I think our brokenness literally connects to other people's. And I know that 7 words are a grammatical error. I don't know what they are because, again, you haven't specified. I have no idea.
Yeah, I will not.
I probably will not notice them, to be honest. But I think there's this fear, maybe at the end of the day, for a lot of people that's like, if someone else notices it, and what my fear is, then that, like, if it's true, then somehow it
disqualifies you.
Yeah, it disqualifies you. It feels dehumanizing. Your self-worth suddenly goes from like maybe average to like just plummets.
Yeah, I mean,
at least mine
you allow
does.
someone else to grade
You feel like there's a fundamental flaw, and you feel like, oh, this verified the fact that I am a walking imperfect human with a gaping hole, and everyone sees it, everyone notices it, and the end.
You know what I put in my journal today?
Oh gosh.
I went, "Dear Abba Father, I am a hot mess."
I put "I'm a walking self-destruct" button into my journal.
So
I said I'm a chaos magnet and a self-destruct button.
I think maybe people back in the day when they put people in sanitariums, we might have been roommates.
I was talking about that too with someone. I said, you know, back in the day we did
one flew over the cuckoo got 2 flew over the cuckoo.
Yeah.
So what were you telling?
I also told a friend on Marco Polo, I need to alter some verbiage here, but I said, you know, I think I've realized that I'm bat crazy. That schmiz crazy. That's the problem.
I do think there's a measure. I do believe so much is creative. There's so many things. Lily, and she's going to kill me for talking to her about this, but her organizational skills are her creativity. Like she has a lot more creativity because she takes beautiful camera. I love her photography. Like nobody can catch a bird in motion like she can. Like she can catch the wings and
she gets people vomiting on camera. She's like the ultimate.
She is, but she also catches.
Photojournalist.
I mean, like she can get bees. She can capture the bees, and I'm like, how do you even see a bee to capture it? How do you even know? And she's really amazing about that. But with her organizing, she can take through and go through the fluff of things and get it where it needs to be. Wherein you are honored and by her efforts, and somehow her system makes you a better organizer.
I saw the coffee and the tea.
You saw the coffee.
So I went to make Keurig coffee. I was like, oh, the little spin things out. So I just opened up a new box. And she's like, oh, I've been organizing it.
I know, but I've learned so much about it. And so there's real art and stuff like this, you know, and it gives her great joy. And I guess maybe to her, a really messy drawer is a failure, you know, if it doesn't. But I try to follow the system. But I think about, so that's creative, but I think about, you know, the idea of opening up an new Airbnb and how long it might take to get on the, you know, algorithm, or even landscaping. You think, do you like it? You know, and people ask, or redoing the exterior of my house right now, you know, are you happy with this? You know, it's so, I guess we all in all our creative stuff, we're worried. We're deeply, deeply concerned about the human component. And I know, you know, I just somehow went back to the book of Exodus when they were making, was it Exodus? When all the rules for making the tabernacle. I forget which book that was. It made.
I have no idea. There's a lot of tabernacle rules spanning over ye Old Testament.
Anyway, but I mean, it was highly, highly important to the Lord how things would be made. I mean, he had to say the instructions several times, and I reread those, and some people go, "Oh, this is driving me batty." I delight in them because it's like you got to use the scarlet, the way you do this, and that you have the coverings this way. I'm just amazed by just the sheer thoughtfulness and the beauty of the construction of it, and that he was entrusting humans to do it, and so he had to say it at least several times. But in all that, I'm reminded that the Lord loves to create, and he loves us to create with him. And somehow in this, we are doing our best. It makes me wonder. I doubt the tabernacle was messed up, but we do have a messy creativity. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it.
Well, I think it's like a part of the process too, and I think that's why, for me personally, documentary style or photojournalistic stuff is so fascinating because people are just themselves. So rather than this perfect pose and edit, raw emotion is so captivating. And I think, again, even people's creative process, there was this kid who, I think he had, he was pretty high functioning, autism. But I was talking to him, and I said, "Do you write poetry?" Because just talking to him, I feel like he's one of these closeted poets. Right. And he kind of smiled. He said, "Yeah, I do, actually." And he was this little, 20-year-old, and he pulls out this note, and there was so much misspelled. He had a really hard childhood, really, really hard childhood. But I really, truly did not care about the misspellings, the lack of commas, because I'm I see exactly what he's saying. Yeah. And it was... I'm really not exaggerating when I say, it was beautiful, reading his words and what he had to say. Because I'm this is coming from him. This is something that's authentic and coming straight from his soul onto the note section of his phone. And I think there's something about, taking, brokenness, ugly things, and there's a sort of beauty in it, Yeah, no. That's my just abstract way of describing it, but...
I think, too... And this is the battle. Who are we lifting our souls to? Because it just reminded me in all this, with all that went on my dark night of the soul, I remembered what I know about the character, where she grows from, that she learns that she's loved by her earthly father and earthly mother. She's learned she is loved by an exceptional man. But basically what she really, really learns is that she's loved in this imperfect world by a perfect Heavenly Father. And I think that is ultimately where, for some reason, knowing that I'm loved, whether the results are whatever they want them, whatever happens to them, I am loved. And it sounds like a cop-out, but it's really where I needed to be landed, particularly given the dream that I had. I needed to know, whoa, I am not second choice. I'm not hand-me-downs. I'm not secondhand, secondhand furniture, which I love secondhand furniture. We're sitting on
I say my thrifted
we
dress.
are sitting on old auction secondhand furniture. But knowing that that's not, just because it's secondhand doesn't make it any less priceless, but I'm not called to be secondhand. I'm not secondhand in his eyes. I really needed to go there today. I really needed a spiritual answer to my soul. If it's the salt is on my soul, I need to fight it with God because it was about my soul, and so it was a neat way to come. Not that I'm not going to feel vulnerable and cave and do all these other things, but I needed that answered. I needed that heard.
I think it re-verifies too, underneath our brokenness, there actually is wholeness, not perfection, but whereas I think we can see every flaw on ourselves. There's this idea, and kind of to echo what you were saying, like to be loved, not for who you could be, what could have been better, but exactly where you are is lovable. I don't mean romantically speaking either, though sure that could be a component, but you know, I think that's the draw, even within friendships, you know, like there's like that connection of being accepted and loved for where you are now, you know, and for whatever has happened, like you're loved despite X, Y, and Z. There's so much beauty in that. But then like when you find your wholeness in who God's created you to be, and in realizing we actually aren't here to attain perfection, we never will. Like it actually is impossible, you know, and even if we did reach our idealized version, we still wouldn't be happy. There would still be one more thing, you know. And
it was
let me just lose 5 more pounds. Okay, but just 5 more.
But it was the idea that he's not going to love me more, love me less than when I wrote in my little black and white speckled composition book in 2nd grade, and I had my favorite poems, and that was back in the day when we were learning cursive. He's not going to love me any more or less than he loves me now with an 85,000 word novel. Do you see what I'm saying? To him, it's all the same, because it's the relationship I have with him, the relationship he has with me, and he holds that. So that's my long, dark night of the soul that actually had a redemptive moment, and I really needed that so badly.
So how do you feel about the 7 words now before we wrap our existential podcast?
I've heard from you, and I've heard from one of my fellow Sunday school teacher, and in the end, I can't change it. So I'm going to have to make peace with it. And I can't change the relationship and the dream. And I'm looking at the word. I just have more hope. I just have hope. And in the end, the biggest thing that wanted, and I don't know if this has happened with you after you did your big stint in Nashville. I was ready to just give it all up. I was just ready to throw away all the things. And writing's not an idol for me, but I really enjoy it. I really enjoy doing it. I just can feel creative, and I could feel God in the creativity. Not that it's inspired writing, but, just that he's with me. And I was just going to give that up because of this. And I'm like, no, that's the wrong reason. Even if I end up audience of 1, you don't give up, because it's ultimately about a relationship between him and me. Yes, I want it to go out in the world and do something, but at the same time, I'm like, whoa, I need to think about this.
I think that's like actually instilled, like, I think God wires people up so differently when it's like a joy and passion of your heart and how you've been wired up. I think that facing like resistance, sometimes automatically we're like, oh, well, because this happened or there was this failure, we automatically equate it to, I'm not fit for this, I'm not good enough. When really it's like, well, also there's a lot of other components to consider with this, like what all went into it. Like, I think it's good even to recognize like, okay, what went wrong? But also in the idea that, just because it wasn't our idealized outcome doesn't mean that it's what we shouldn't be doing, or the resistance or failure or the note, which is funny, even out of the Nashville stuff, like actually these small just recitals with my music studio, I felt maybe even more vulnerable than this like Nashville that felt more kind of like karaoke. Kind of my goodness. Yeah, no, seriously. Like, but I remember thinking after Nashville and after one piece in particular with just my small music studio here in Greensboro, there was this recital where I watched it on playback, and I told my teacher, I said, I make myself uncomfortable. I look like a deer in the headlights trying to get through and choke out like this Italian piece.
You mean the one that you posted on?
Not the one I posted. There was one before it where I almost thought, I'm done with this. And she sent me this piece. And sometimes I think it's other people drawing out stuff in us too, right? I'm not saying, oh, this means I'm the schmiz, but she said, Anna, like, here's a song. I think this is going to be like your breakthrough song because like the tempo of it was just matched a lot of things that I'm drawn to. And it was a really fascinating, kind of interesting lyricism to it. But I really was like, I'm done. And like, I think maybe I should hang up even trying classical, not the classical Italians way.
Did you tell her that?
No, I didn't, but I did write like a 3-page or 2-page card. It was like, thanks for putting up with me this last year. But no, but seriously, I mean, after this one particular piece, not the one I posted, even though I will say with the one I posted, I still didn't feel like it was good enough. And
you were singing with your whole heart, soul, and mind.
If you send it to someone, and someone actually, a former teacher, said, "Oh, I love saying this publicly."
Yeah, just say it.
A previous teacher who I think I sang one right note for in the brief time I worked with them said, "Congrats, and keep listening to great music." And I responded and I said, "You too." And I was like, bye.
Thank you.
Even with that, I didn't feel fulfilled, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to post this, even if it's not up to my standards, because something about that felt not just for like, let me have public recognition, but it felt like this hidden thing. And I felt like I needed to post it, even though it was not
Did it feel
perfect.
A bit victorious?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
It really did, because I knew going into it, like, this was a hard piece I was working on. It's only like a minute and 20 seconds. It's not even like this long aria. And like, I'm going on to sing opera or something, because I'm so novice, like so very novice.
Yeah, but you sang with your whole body, and it was just beautiful.
Well, thank you.
You sang, and yes, it was lovely.
But I think with that, you know, it's, even though it wasn't perfect or where I wanted my standards, like wanted it to be for my standards, something felt good about just like ripping off the Band-Aid. Same with the races too, you know, like with running. Okay, so I didn't hit the time I wanted, but it's like knowing that you put in the effort for it and that you're able to overcome, you know, or like writing for like 24 hours a day over the last 8 years, you know?
Oh, no, I didn't want
Well, and with all the challenges, like, not just challenges, but like really hard stuff you've had, you know, like in your day-to-day life, or these like seasons where, and I've seen you literally working at your laptop, like hitting these deadlines amidst like everything outside, you know? So I'm rambling, but to echo your thoughts.
In a way, what it is like, it's stepping into life by just putting it out there and being victorious in it.
Yeah, vulnerably victorious.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Not to sound, I keep saying not to sound cliche, but
it's not.
Yeah.
So what would be the one thing that will you try, I'm going to try to look at this differently. This is my call to action. I'm going to look at this differently and just say, okay, let's just not worry about it.
Yeah. Actually, in my self-deprecating journal entry, I ended with just saying, you know what? All of this happened because there was a whole spiral I had last week that was not the prettiest ever. But I ended it not just with like, all right, here's some positive affirmations, but just with writing out, you know, I know I'm going to move past this, and I believe in X, Y, and Z, and I don't believe this is the fate of my life. And you know, it wasn't a thing of like, oh, I'm manifesting, but just writing out and literally setting in ink that these things didn't have power over me, and just, you know, and I had prayed and asked someone else to pray for me to have a sound mind. And so,
I put down a bunch of scriptures, and it was like the one from Ephesians about we're created in Christ Jesus to do good works, you know, through him, from since the beginning of time, before time. And so I'm like, okay, this is a good work. It has its things, but it's the work that was set before me, and we did it, and we posted it. We're out into public with it.
And you're not going to go to down to your grave saying, I didn't even try. You know, that's the biggest for me. I'm like, I'm going to try. And even if it all goes to catastrophe, I don't want to turn 30. That's been my big thing, because I'll be 30. I don't want to turn 30 or die, which could happen any moment, you know, saying I didn't at least give my all and try. So
let's shake
yeah.
hands. Deal. Done deal.
Yay! So
thank you for joining us on this very gut-wrenching moral tea.
yeah. Should we maybe cheers?
Let's cheers
with my
again.
water.
With Mrs.
I'm not really
Potts.
drinking coffee or
Oh,
tea.
Chip.
Yay!